and comes on board. There we are. We're on board. I am going to bring you podcast listeners in with the music. Here we go.
Live stream offline. One waiting.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Bird's Kitchen, Wednesday, March 21st. Coming at you a little bit late, but we are working some new stuff out and checking on the audio. So running some new audio tonight. If anybody out there's got any problems, let us know. I'm adjusting things as we go. There. That should be a decent audio level for everybody and for the podcast. How you doing there, bud?
Man, I'm doing great. Other than I'm sick as hell, but had a pretty good week. Recovered from last week's podcast. got a little intense, and recovered from that, and had a good week of practice. Caught a little cold, so I'm a little stuffy, but feeling good, man. What about you?
Everything's good. Besides the 4 hours of sleep I got last night because my kids can't handle a thunderstorm. But that's neither here nor there. I did get audio is so crackly. All right. So we know we have a problem. Let me try
That's
to
Matt Wright, dude. Matt Wright always complains about the audio.
Matt, I appreciate it because we're always trying to fix it and make it better. So
He said it's so crackly.
it is crackly.
Is that a word?
It could be. You know, it sounds great on the, let me go over here.
Hey, dude, we got a fucking empty chair here.
I was going to focus in on that. Do you want me to?
You wasn't going to focus in?
I was going to focus in on
Oh,
that.
you was going to focus in?
Yep.
Well,
All right, I'm
sure.
going to take this off. We're going to switch back to regular audio. There we go.
How's the audio now, guys?
Audio should be right on point.
Audio should be right on point, according to Slick Nick.
Let us know, Mr. Matthew Wright, as I pan the camera. Let me pull the camera over here so you guys can see this this empty chair right there. Don't know what's going on there, but it's empty. And back to the beautiful shot of us both.
Yep, chair's empty. Sad. Regina Palumbo. Why does her name say Palumbo on damn YouTube? They said my mic is not working.
Your mic is not working. Mother, Mary, and Joseph. I haven't done anything different. Except one thing.
Well, now Diane Stiegel says that
That should be normal.
Diane Stiegel says the sound is better.
Sound is better. All right, we're back to normal. I'm still working out the kinks. I'm trying to run it through the soundboard so that everybody on the live stream gets the same audio that goes out to the podcast.
Okay, guys, pretty much all we want to know is, can you hear my beautiful voice? Can you get the full grasp of my southern accent? And if you can do that...
Video is messed up, can't see Nicole.
Can't see Nicole. Okay.
She's wearing a cloak.
Nicole is a no-show. Okay? Nicole is a no-show. No call, no show. And you know what Donald Trump does? You know what happens when you no call, no show on Big D? Do you know?
He calls this nobody.
No. Do you know what happens when you no call?
No, tell me.
On Big Daddy Donald Trump?
I don't know. Tell me.
Do you know what happens when you make the list with the bread?
I do know what happens when I make the list.
You're fired!
I haven't been fired yet. I just got my man card revoked.
I'm just playing. Guys, I don't know where Nicole is, but I do wish she had called because we could have got a guest tonight. That would have been pleasant.
How is that, everybody? Yes, audio is super low. All right, so I'm still working on this. Bear with me as I make everything better. Mike's mic is working now. So there we are. We're back.
There we go. All right.
We're back, mothers.
So,
and we've got everybody that's 17 and under off.
17 and under off. We got them all off.
All of them are off.
Can you really control that?
No, but you did.
Yeah, Regina, Alicia was on here, just so you know. And if she hears anything bad, I'm not to blame. I told her not to come on here, but who knows? So, we got a great show planned. Different format. Pretty cool. We went out on our fan page, and we asked people to mail in questions to our Gmail account.
Yep.
And
thebreadskitchen@gmail.com.
Yeah, and it's funny because you can tell we have a lot of MMA and jiu-jitsu fans because I only think one person followed the fucking directions. Everybody else wrote everybody else wrote their questions down on Facebook on the fan page, which that's okay, but we prefer that they're emailed. Attention to detail, So anyone who has any further questions or want their questions posted, possibly on this podcast, though we do have a pretty full show, but definitely on next week's podcast, send your questions to thebreadskitchen@gmail.com, and we'll try to get you worked in.
And for you illiterate folk out there, that is not the Bread's Kitchen @gmail.com.
The Bread's Kitchen. Okay. So, man, what do we got this week? What all questions and
man, it's a loaded show. I'm gonna go ahead and just bring this off with the hot topic of the past couple weeks is the breadisms. I think we've started something.
Guys, if you haven't seen this, you started it, smartass.
No, you started it.
No,
I just started recording it.
No, I didn't start it. No, you and Eddie and Nicole. For you guys that don't know who Eddie and Nicole is, Eddie is my son. Nicole is basically my daughter-in-law. She trains here as well. She's one of my brown belts. Eddie's one of my brown belts. Nick here is one of my blue belts. And they thought they would be cute and take little sayings that I supposedly say. All of them's not true. Okay, all of these breadisms, as they call them, are not true, and they've made little memes and posted them all over Instagram. And so tell them where they can find these memes. I did copy one today.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, and put it on Facebook, and everybody was laughing. I think it was the one about the underwater basket weaving. Which that is true. I did use that maybe once, I think. I think I said somebody graduated with a degree in underwater basket weaving or some shit like that. And where in the hell did you find a picture to fit that?
There's actually a class at a college now for no credits that is actually a scuba certified underwater basket weaving class.
Are you serious?
I swear to bejesus.
Oh, man. So tell me, what made you do this?
The breadisms?
Yeah, the breadisms.
They're so unique and they're so powerful that they need a voice. They need to be heard by the rest of the world. And I think we can actually write a book off of them.
Well, some of them's not true.
Okay, please explain which one.
Well, for one, I think it's number, and I can pull it up right here because I
go ahead and say it fast, and we'll let
wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. So you have a picture of this is Breadisms by Professor Michael Allen, number 2, and there's a picture of what looks like a damn cockroach. It don't even look like a flea. It looks like a cockroach, and it has a circle and a line through it, and it says Flea Zone Fluffy.
Because that's what it sounds like when you say it.
I say fleas.
No.
I say fleas on Fluffy.
Say it how you say it when you're mad.
Fleas on Fluffy. Fleas on Fluffy. The fuck is so funny, man? What do you got? This guy right here. What? Fleas on Fluffy. How does that say flea? How are you saying what I'm saying?
Flea zone Fluffy.
I'm not saying flea
zone. I know you're not saying no, but that's what it sounds like.
That is not what it sounds like. And look, you know what?
Don't throw the hot pepper flakes at me.
Oh my goodness! There you go. With that.
Or hit me with a 6-piece chicken nugget.
Okay, the breadisms are pretty good, guys. If you get a chance, go check the breadisms out. The fleas on Fluffy is a remark, okay, and it is usually giving credit to people who like to indulge in intimate,
extracurricular,
physical, extracurricular activities with big people. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Before I was married to my beautiful wife.
Make T-shirts and sell them.
Yeah. Who said that? Regina?
Matthew Wright.
Oh, Matt Wright? Oh, my good, Brent. Hey, we should. No, we're not doing that. No.
Regina, you can't go throwing this out there after you said that you liked the view last time.
What?
I prefer the view with you guys on the couch actually facing the camera.
Anyways, we're not talking about that and what she says. We're talking about me and my extracurricular activities with some big women before I was married, happily married. And I'm not ashamed of that. So when I say that about people, when I say look at the fleas on Fluffy, it's a compliment. There's nothing wrong with a thick woman.
Nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong with a thick woman.
Nothing wrong.
In fact, thickness is cool. In 2018, it's cool to be thick.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good to be thick. People are trying to get thickness. Big booties, big butt, big boobs. A thick woman. In the right places. And some people prefer a little more thickness here, a little more thickness there. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing at all. Nothing wrong. Now, I mean, not for me right now, because I'm married. I'm happily married till I die.
On there, I forgot.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to hit the on air button.
Boom! Official.
But anyways, that's the fleas on Fluffy. Fleas on Fluffy, not fleas on Fluffy, smart ass.
No, but it sounds better.
We could make a picture, a T-shirt out of that. I think the other one, the Marcelo Garcia T-shirt. Do you think Marcelo would let us use his
face?
His face?
Of course.
Fuck, let's just do it. And then, I mean, I don't think he's going to drive to North Carolina to beat me up.
You're not Marcelo Garcia. No.
Hey, man, I thought it was appropriate.
It was, at 6 a.m., it made the most sense in the world.
So you tell our viewers about that one.
So we were warming up for class. It was probably like 6 a.m., 6:15, and one of the students had said that he was watching videos on YouTube and saw Marcelo Garcia. It wasn't a choke. I think it was a guard pass or something. The student actually announced himself and corrected himself on Instagram, and he said, "I want to try this maneuver." And I thought it was a choke. And you literally stopped tying your belt. You turned off the music. And you looked at him and you said, "You're not Marcelo Garcia." No.
What's wrong with that? He's not Marcelo Garcia. What is wrong with that? I thought that it was appropriate. I thought that the timing was on point. It was right. And I felt like...
That's why it's a breadism.
No. You're not Marcelo Garcia. No. Hey, you know what though? A lot of instructors will play along with that shit, and I hate that. I can't stand that. You know, be honest with your students. And I'm one of those guys. I'm always going to be real with my students. I'm always going to let them know, what's really going on. So, you know what? I'll accept that Britism. I'm happy with that one. So, what else we got on this week's podcast? Let's get into some of those questions.
Let's pull up some of the questions right now.
Now, are we going to tell them who the questions are from, or we just...
Let's go ahead. Let's go with question number 1. So, Regina, I just did what you asked me to, so let me know if that changes things. If you did make T-shirts, it would be great gifts. Yes, that would be awesome.
Who said that?
It flashed on and off.
Okay.
Now I'm off. Kenny Letts, questions from the public. This might be a new, block of entertainment that we offer.
Questions from the public. Questions from the public.
Kenny Letts, will we ever see the Vanilla Gorilla back in an MMA cage?
The Vanilla Gorilla, Nick Smith.
Nick Smith.
That's a funny question because I helped coach Nick. He fought for us at Renegade Fighting Systems for the majority of his amateur career and all the way through his pro career. He had a successful amateur career, 8-2. He had a successful pro career, 3-1. He was the Fight Lab welterweight champion, the Elite Cage amateur welterweight champion, and had a following that is just unheard of for an amateur fighter.
So what was the name of the following? It was
16150. And it was so fucking funny because before he started training with us, when he was training with us at Renegade Fight Systems, I couldn't figure out what in the hell 16150 was. I thought it was a damn license plate. I thought it was a
what?
A license plate. Dude, there was like 10 million rednecks out in this crowd yelling 16150, 150, and Nick. They didn't give a damn if Nick Smith was fighting or not. They didn't care if it was part of their little gang was fighting. It could have been you fighting out there. If one of their guys was on the card, and they usually was, they would do this for 3-4 hours.
So I think
straight.
I think I can pull some audio of that in, and let's see if we can entertain the viewers with. Oh, that would be Nicole's microphone. So that's what you would hear before he fought, right?
No, you would hear that from the time the doors opened until the doors closed.
Oh, really?
It picked up when he fought. They also had another kid, Big C, Cody Wells, that trained with us, Tommy Diablo DiBernardo, and the outlaw Aaron Osborne. And anytime one of those guys came out, that chant picked up dramatically, but it was already just... It was ridiculous. It was to the point it was almost annoying. But back to the question, do I think we'll ever see him in the cage again? With Nick Smith and any of those guys, you never know. But if I had to bet my money on it, no. I don't know that he's training anywhere right now at all. I literally haven't spoken to Nick in a long time.
So he said 2013 is the last time
2013 was the last time he's fought. So he hasn't fought in 5 years. I just can't see him coming back. He still came around after his last fight against Nick Grady, which was a loss. He still came around the gym to say hello, and he still came to the fights to support, his old teammates. But he didn't really show any interest of getting back on, and I just can't see 5 years later him getting back in the cage. But man, if he did, whoa, Fight Lab would make some money. And by the way, speaking of Fight Lab, they just had a ridiculously good show, Fight Lab 58, this past weekend at the Grady Cole Center.
Do you want to dig in on that?
Yeah, man. I watched it.
How's that, Regina?
I watched it live on Facebook Live. Somebody was sitting at cage side, like right up against the cage, and was filming all the videos and posting them. And had some good fights as far as the names that was matched up. Some people that I remember from when I did the matchmaking.
Who is doing the matchmaking right now?
Kevin Ferrant from Hyaston.
Yep.
Had a lot of Hyaston guys on there. I think they went 3-1 for the day.
Okay.
I think they brought home at least one championship. Might have been two. In the co-main event, Dewan Owens, the Fight Lab 155-pound champion, he got knocked out by Mike Stevens. It was a brutal knockout. Mike Stevens trains with a Chris Clodfelter, 8 points Muay Thai. And then in the main event, Curtis Cloward, who was supposed to fight Derek Hyatt.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he lost to Dylan Calla. Got caught in a head chancellor into a Darce choke. And it was pretty brutal choke and ended up tapping. So, it looked like a good crowd, looked like a successful crowd as far as ticketing. So, looks like a lot of good stuff. Get ready to come down the pipe.
So do you know when their next event is?
I want to say it is June the 22nd because Kevin actually contacted me today asking me if someone wanted to fight, and I told him no. So,
do you want to say who that someone would be?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, it doesn't matter. He was asking about Derek Hyatt, and Derek's not going to be able to fight June 22nd because he's getting married June the 2nd.
Tying the knot.
Here comes the bride.
All dressed in white.
Okay, you're smart. You didn't say what I thought you was going to say. So let's move on. What's the next question we got?
I just want to know what you thought I was going to say. Next question. Let me pull this up.
Let's skip down to someone. You want to skip down to someone else, or do you want to go straight through Kenny's?
Well, I wanted to tie two things in together.
Okay.
And
Sure.
The second question, I guess, from Kenny Letts is, why are footlocks so scary?
Why are footlocks so scary? Footlocks are scary for the same reason that when you first put on a set of football pads and someone runs at you full speed and hits you, you get a little bit of tightness in the butt area.
Yes.
It's
pucker factor.
Yeah, it's a pucker factor.
Yep.
Footlocks are scary for the same reason when you climb up to the top of a 200-foot rock and get ready to rappel off.
Yep.
Footlocks are scary for the same reason when you walk into a jiu-jitsu gym and the first time somebody puts a rear naked choke on you.
Yep.
A lot of schools, they take, they shy away from footlocks. And then there's this myth about, one footlock is worse than the next footlock and reaping and all of this stuff. And
do you want, please go into the reaping, because John Shell got DQ'd at IBJJF Atlanta for a knee reap, which I was watching. It wasn't, but do you want to describe to the people out there that don't know what a knee reap is as eloquently and visually as you possibly can?
So a knee reap would be, and it's funny you said this, because in our Checkmat black belt group page, we have the benefit of having Chico Mendez, who I want to say is a 5th or 6th degree black belt under Checkmat. And he is one of the top IBJJF referees in the world. And we have the benefit of having him in our group on our WhatsApp, and he comes on there, man, like once a month and grills us on these rules. And it's a great benefit. And he had a description of what a knee reap is just this past weekend. I'm not going to try to pull it up because it's in Portuguese. I'd have to put it in the Google app, and I'd have to find it. But basically his description would be when the attacking practitioner's thigh rests underneath his opponent's thigh, and his ankle snakes around to the top of the hip.
Okay.
And crosses the center line with the toes pointing in. That is a knee reap. And what happens in theory is that it forces the opponent's knee to turn in, and it makes it dangerous, supposedly.
Dangerous as to what's their reasoning behind the danger?
It puts the opponent's knee in danger.
Okay.
Now, me personally, I've never seen anyone get injured from a knee reap.
I haven't either.
But I have seen people get injured from a heel hook, especially when done in the gi, because the gi creates a lot of friction. And it is tough to just slide out of some of the leg locks. So, I mean, the other reason they're scary is because, you know what? Look, if I tell you all the time that if I tell you from the day you're born that baseballs being thrown at you are dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that to you from the time you can talk till the time you get 10 years old. I put that in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get 12 and you see people throwing baseballs at each other. And you're like, man, that is so dangerous. He's catching them. And no, I haven't seen anyone get hit yet. But God, that's dangerous. It's dangerous because my dad told me it's dangerous. And man, if you get hit with that baseball, that is it. And every once in a blue moon, somebody misses that ball and that baseball hits them in the head and and you go, oh, see, I told you. But is throwing a baseball at each other, is it really dangerous?
Did you
see my point?
I was going to ask you, have you ever seen a knee reap turn into something that actually injured somebody at any match anywhere?
I've never seen a knee reap. I've seen people get caught in a heel hook. I've seen people get caught in a straight Achilles lock and not know how to defend it properly, or not tap. They tried to tough it out and grit it out, and then something got popped. I've seen that happen. To sit here and say that a knee reap caused someone to get hurt. Look, my feeling about I've seen somebody caught in an armbar and not know how to defend it properly. I see that all the time. I have purple belts coming here, and I ask them, hey, man, how do you defend that armbar? And they can't tell me how in the hell they defend an armbar. They've not been taught the proper way to defend. They've not been given multiple escapes. They just use their athleticism, their power, their strength to get out of the damn arm bars. And then one day they get caught and they don't know how to get out, and somebody else knows how to transition to another one, and they get their arm broke. Do we say, oh, arm bars are dangerous?
We can't.
Do you see my point?
Yes.
I've seen people not tap when they get caught in a rear naked choke, and they go to unconscious.
Nothing wrong with that.
Do we say rear naked chokes are dangerous?
It's actually a fun ride sometimes.
So do you see my point? A lot of it is instructors. Instructors create a fear, and our community has created this fear of leg locks. And a lot of people lately have capitalized off that success. I mean,
and that's what I was going to ask you, is getting into that, because if you think about an instructor in an academy, you're the dad or the mom, and you've got some academies out there that don't want to touch leg locks, and then you've got some academies that focus on leg locks, and you can't ignore 50% of the human body. And in my personal opinion, it doesn't matter what belt you're in. If you're doing this art, it should all be legal. It's up to the person that's getting the technique applied to them to know when to tap and not to fight it out, like with an ankle lock or certain types of knee bars. If you're in it and you know you're not going to get out of it, tap. You're still going to be able to get up and walk away and come back and get on the mat and roll again.
Yeah.
Rather than getting set into a true heel hook, where I've actually accidentally done this to somebody once, is they were fighting it and all I did was roll the wrong way and they weren't able to walk for 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I have a problem with, for me, just my opinion, I started off with leg locks. In catch wrestling, in Nashville, that was literally the first. I learned a leg lock before I learned a choke.
Right.
I learned heel hooks, Achilles, Ashigaramis, all this stuff before I ever learned how to transition to the back. I mean, it was just, I don't want to say I learned backwards, but in catch, that's what we did.
Right.
And to me, they're all dangerous. They all carry a high degree of danger, especially when the counters are not taught and the defenses are not taught.
Say that, please, again.
When the counters are not taught and the defenses are not taught. And I see so much of that. I see a lot of that from, these supposed really good academies and instructors, and then I see some of their people, and I'm just like, I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed.
You would consider this a martial art, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What does martial mean?
I have no idea.
Deadly. Deadly art.
Deadly art.
If we want to apply that word to, just about anything, doing it wrong, we were talking about jumping bikes when we were kids.
Yeah.
Put the fulcrum too far forward, you break your neck, fall over, and boom, it's done.
Yeah.
Same thing goes in here. You don't learn to tap at the right places or the right times. You go unconscious, or you get your trachea broken.
Yeah.
Or you don't walk for 6 weeks.
Right.
So is it up to the instructor to teach everybody when to tap?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's up to the instructor to teach people when to tap. It's up to the instructor to teach people how to tap. It's up to the instructor to teach people how to counter to where you don't have to tap. It's up to the instructor to teach people not just one defense, but multiple defenses. Not just, and when I say defense, I don't necessarily mean an escape. Sometimes a defense is not an escape.
Right.
Sometimes you can defend the arm bar. It doesn't mean you're getting out of it. Okay? Right. I'm amazed that every bit, but instead what I see is a lot of instructors use the fear technique.
Right.
Hey, man, this is really dangerous, so we don't do this. Okay, well, that's fine and dandy, But then when little Susie Rottencrotch or little Johnny Appleseed go down to the open mat down at Gladiator RS Academy, and they're doing heel hooks and toe holds and Achilles locks, and they've never seen it, the timing is off. The timing mechanism is off. Correct. So now they don't have a chance to tap. And now people can get hurt. So are footlocks scary? Yes, but everything's scary.
So is it wrong for an instructor at a school not to teach those things, even if they believe it's scary or not? Is it a responsibility of that
Absolutely.
instructor? Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been in my academy. I teach neck cranks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll tell you, it's a choke. Mm-hmm. But, I teach neck cranks because you got to feel it. You have to. You have to. I mean, fuck, we're teaching people how to grapple, right?
Well, that's I think where catch and Brazilian, that's where I think you meld catch and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu very well together, which that leads me on to my next point.
Okay.
Which was a question, also I believe from Kenny, which can we get a timeline of catch wrestling versus BJJ? I'm not a historian, but I find this topic interesting. And I want to put this in perspective for you so when you answer it. When you started, you said you worked backwards from catch into BJJ. Mm-hmm. Take us through that timeline and how you learned, and then as a secondary starting point, how you teach BJJ with catch.
Well, as far as the timeline with catch versus jiu-jitsu, earlier today, because Kenny sent this question in earlier, so one of my friends in Easley, South Carolina, his name is John Strickland. If you guys ever get a chance to look John up, he is a student of the history of catch wrestling. He is literally a walking historian. I'm the world's worst. Okay, I literally would sit in class, and when Pops and Johnny Husky would be talking about the...
Do you want to tell us who Pops was?
Pops was Billy Wicks. Billy Wicks was an old-time carnival wrestler, pro wrestler, majorly famous in the world of pro wrestling for his performances and accolades in pro wrestling in the Memphis area in Tennessee. Him and Sputnik Monroe had some just really pivotal matches that was so important, not just in the sporting sense of pro wrestling, but in the, believe it or not, in the racial climate of the Memphis, Tennessee,
right,
and Nashville areas. I mean, the stuff they did so much to cross racial barriers that was put up in sporting events as a whole in that area of the country. I mean, they had thousands and thousands of people, blacks and whites, integrating to watch them wrestle each other. And Pops, before he got into pro wrestling, he wrestled in the carnival when he was younger, in actual catch-can type matches. He learned to hook, which is what catch wrestling is called. He learned to hook from Henry Collin. And Henry Collin was an old-time catch wrestler who learned directly from Farmer Burns.
We have a picture up on the wall.
Yeah, we have their pictures in here in our academy. And so tracing it back, my lineage in catch wrestling, I'm one of the few people that can actually give you my lineage in catch wrestling, and it's not some bullshit. Right. You hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I do catch wrestling. I've done catch wrestling," and I'm just whatever. But even big names, they say they did catch wrestling, and as far as it gets is. I'm not going to say any names, but they can't get past who they actually took one or two classes from. But anyways, so from us, Farmer Burns, the farmer taught Henry Collin. Henry Collin taught Billy Wicks. Billy Wicks taught Johnny Husky. Johnny Husky taught me. And I got lucky enough. Pops, when I first started, was still in good enough health to be in the room with us and be on the mats.
And he's probably in his late 50s, 60s at this point.
Oh, no, he was older than that, man. He was, he just passed away, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
And I don't even remember how old he was when he passed, but, he was, back then, he was, if he wasn't really old, he was feeling really old.
Was he in a wheelchair for
Yes.
the last couple years of his life?
For the last couple of years that he was actually on the mats with us, he would come in. His handler and friend would bring him in, would drive him all the way from Waynesville, North Carolina, to Asheville, and he would come in a wheelchair and literally direct Johnny, through the hooks and the moves, and then that's how we would learn some of our stuff from him. And I was luckily I was old enough back then to realize that I was being a part of something special, but I was also young enough to not quite realize what it was. And then when I got into BJJ and I understood the lineage of jiu-jitsu and the importance of Helio Gracie and what it meant to be able to get on the mat with Hoist Gracie and some of those guys, it then what I'd gotten with Pops had a lot more meaning than what it did at the time when I was actually on the mat with him.
So I'm going to challenge you with something, and I'm hoping that our listeners are going to follow me with this, is that I believe it is your responsibility to create the lineage of catch wrestling in the Southeast. I don't believe there's besides you and Johnny and Adam maybe. Who else could do it?
Well,
who else could truly do it?
The only hiccup with me and catch wrestling is this, and I'm a fantastic teacher. Pat myself on the back.
Everybody out there. I've trained around the world, and I will actually say that Michael Allen is probably the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor I've ever had.
He's lost his mind, but I am a pretty damn good instructor, and I'm a damn good coach. I'm a much better mat side coach than I am an instructor, but I'm a pretty good instructor. But my biggest problem with catch wrestling is this. Oh my God, you and the flea zone. Anyways, the biggest problem for me in the catch wrestling is this: is that people confuse. Most people in America, when they think of catch wrestling, they immediately the first thing they say is Sakuraba.
Right.
And the catch wrestling that I do, that I learned from Billy Wicks, is not night and day. It's not night and day, but it's different than what Sakuraba was doing that you saw in his grappling matches and in Pride, because Sock came from the pro wrestling, Japanese pro wrestling,
which is huge.
Catch. Yeah,
which is huge. But how did catch get over? I know the answer, but how did catch get over to Japan?
Well, Billy Robinson. I don't know that side of catch lineage. I just know what I've read, what Pops told me, what John Strickland, the historian, and guys like that have spoken about. But from my understanding, Billy Robinson was hired to come in and to teach the pro wrestlers in Japan catch-can wrestling as they did it in England, to make their pro wrestling more stiff. Mm-hmm. And that's why in New Japan Pro Wrestling,
please define stiff.
Stiff, more realistic, more hard hitting, sort of like what you saw back in the old NWA days here, right, in as opposed to what you see now in the WWE.
Right.
WWE, you can always see when they're pulling a punch. You can see when the moves are, the pressure's being taken off. Whereas
you saw Dean Malenko or the Rock and Roll Express do something, they were doing it.
Yeah, you saw Dean Malenko put a Texas Cloverleaf on somebody, and you're like, oh shit, that looks like it really hurts. And in Japan, their pro wrestling was a lot more stiff, not just with the submission, but not just with the punches, but with the submission locks and the actual movement and the mechanics of the match. It was a lot more like a wrestling match,
right?
Like a real wrestling match. And so Billy Robinson went over there and shared his knowledge with Inoki and those guys over in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Again, I'm not the greatest historian on this thing, and so then their pro wrestling to somebody got the bright idea of, well, you know what, these pro wrestling are making a whole lot of money, so maybe we should sort of blend it in with this Pancras thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the Pancras thing, it turned into this MMA all go rules Pride thing. And
we can thank the Yakuza for that.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, here you had Kazushi Sakuraba
annihilating,
defending the faith of Japan and pro wrestling and catch wrestling. And now, again, hold on. Another part of my lineage that I don't really talk about a lot because I didn't indulge myself in it like some of my teammates, like Brad Hanna, Footlock Brad. But Johnny Husky, who taught me American Catch-Can wrestling from Billy Wicks, also trained over in the Takanori dojo over in Japan. Man, I probably messed that up. So
no, you said it right.
So as he would come back from fighting and doing pro wrestling over there, he would share with us the leg locks. So the stuff that Sakuraba was doing, like I know sometimes when I'm in here teaching and I'm with you guys and I'm playing around like with Kenny and I'm showing leg locks, I do get into the ashigarami and the toe holds and the scissor locks and the inversions and I've been doing that. I knew it back then from Johnny Husky. I just didn't indulge myself into it like the rest of my team, like Brad and Matt, because I flocked to the American Catch-Can style, which was wrestling, top control, wrist rides, hammer locks.
Folk style.
Yeah, folk style, which is what American Catch-Can is. It's totally different. But as far as the question with Kenny, what he was asking about the timeline, of catch versus jiu-jitsu, I can't really give you I know pretty much what everyone else knows. Now, John Strickland, my old teammate, can tell you some really good stuff on catch. I think, just to be honest with you, that catch wrestling as I know it, as far as American Catch-Can style wrestling, there wasn't a lot of cross-links, surprisingly, between jiu-jitsu and American Catch-Can. Okay? I've never...
Not until the 80s.
I've never heard any real stories...
The 1980s.
I've never heard any real stories of any American Catch-Can guys going against jiu-jitsu guys. Now, I will say this, though.
Eric Paulson?
Well, Eric Paulson is he's more Billy Robinson and
right.
Those guys. So I wouldn't say, when I say American Catch-Can, I'm talking about the Carney wrestlers.
Carney, okay.
And I can't think of any, literally, except for me and my guys in Asheville, and as our lineage branched off into like Strickland and Chris Rogers and.
Would you consider Dan Severn a Catch-Can wrestler?
Yes.
So maybe he was the first one to bridge the gap.
Yeah, maybe
At a true UFC event.
Yeah, when he fought Hoist,
yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, the funny thing about Dan is that for whatever reason, you got to remember, an American Catch-Can as it truly is, you win by pinfall or submission.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be unthinkable for a catch wrestler if you haven't done anything with like MMA and jiu-jitsu. It would have been unthinkable back then for a guy to be laying on his back. And I think from interviews I've heard Dan Severn say that. He was on top of Hoist, and he's like, "What the hell's going on here? This guy's just laying there on his back and pounding his brains in." And all credit to Hoist. Hoist pulled off, I think it was a triangle, right? That was 30 minutes. But I mean, I'm not an historian. I know Funaki, as far as the Japanese style, fought Hickson, and Hickson literally he beat the shit out of him twice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then that dumbass from Japan, who wasn't even a real. I think his submission background was limited to nil to none, and he actually flew over here and tried to fight Hickson. Hickson liked to have killed him. I forget his name. And then Sakuraba,
mm-hmm.
With what he did to the Gracies.
He had their number.
He did. He had their numbers. But the one thing about him, and the one thing about Sakuraba is he just didn't.
He's known as the Gracie Killer.
Well, he just didn't play into their game. And I've told my MMA fighters, coaching them over the years, there's ways to just not play into that game, especially if you have a significant amateur style background.
You bring up a great point. I want to ask you about this is reverse engineering jiu-jitsu from Brazilian jiu-jitsu to Japanese jiu-jitsu. Do you think that's what Sakuraba did?
No. I think what Sakuraba did is most people don't give him credit for this. Sakuraba was a highly decorated amateur wrestler, and I honestly believe this, and I've always said this. I've always said that there was a reason in the early UFCs that the elite amateur wrestlers of the United States was not invited to fight in the early UFCs. Now, a lot of people look at Dan Severn and they go, oh, well, Dan Severn was in it. Dan Severn was not an elite amateur wrestler in his prime at that time.
No.
I just couldn't see Hoist doing...
KO.
Well, not even... I'm talking about back then. I couldn't see Hoist doing what he did to those guys back then. I couldn't see him doing that to Kenny Monday.
Ah.
I don't think that would have happened. I just don't think that would have happened. I think Kenny Monday actually did fight later on, but or Kevin Jackson did, somebody did, but I just couldn't see Hoist doing what he did to those guys back then. I couldn't see him. I think what happened with him and Sock, I think that would have happened with him and a lot of the other amateur wrestlers.
Dean Malenko versus Hoist.
I'm going to say Hoist.
Okay.
I'm just going to say Hoist. I don't think Malenko's... Man, I don't know. You want to know who I think? You're going to laugh.
Eddie?
No. No. You want to know who I'm going to say that out of the pro wrestling ranks that I think would have...
Chris Benoit?
Yes.
Definitely. 100%.
Yeah. Most people don't understand. And I know a lot of people don't like Chris Benoit, blah, 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 for good reason, and what he did was awful. But it is very well documented in pro wrestling circles. That dude could wrestle for real and was as intense and physically dominant of a person that you could ever come up with in your life. I'll tell you another one, and believe it or not, people don't want to hear this. They're going to laugh, but Bret Hart.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you do not want him grabbing.
No, not at all.
No, not at all.
And I had the pleasure of actually meeting and hanging out with those guys when I worked for Ric Flair. So
yeah.
It's just amazing the knowledge that those guys have.
And people also don't understand how incredibly strong pro wrestlers are.
Oh my God!
They pick men up. But great question by Kenny. So what else we got?
Do you want to go into the popularity of the heel hooks and leg locks in no-gi jiu-jitsu? Do you see an eventual loosening of the rules in the IBJJF to allow more of them in the lower belts and or eventually into the gi divisions? How do you see it evolving as knowledge of the heel hooks and leg locks? And look, when we say ashis, we're talking about ashigaramis. This is the, I believe it's the 39 judo, international judo leg locks. I could be wrong here. I could pull up the internet. I'm just trying to go off the top of my brain. But the ashigaramas, as they expand. Do you think what we were talking about earlier and what Matthew Wright actually wrote in is better to teach them, prepare them for it, than to be afraid and hope it doesn't happen? Matt, I totally agree with you. What do you think?
Yeah, as I said before, you got to teach the stuff. I mean, you got to teach. On a competitive note, just as a coach, if you don't teach it, you're giving guys like Donaher the advantage. Mm-hmm. If somebody doesn't teach some shit quick, they're just going to continue to run roughshod in no-gi all over everybody. Now, as far as the loosening of the rules, Tom, no. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't see IBJJF ever allowing more of the leg locks at the lower belt levels and definitely not into the gi divisions. They're never going to allow the heel hooks in the gi divisions. I just don't. I don't know. I can't see that. I can't see that. And I'll...
Why? Is it a danger thing?
I don't know how to word this without this being offensive. So I really don't even want to say it. But I just can't see... I can't see the IBJJF ever allowing rules that would open it up for just one particular team. Let's just target one particular team here.
I know where you're going.
Ever allowing the Donaher Death Squad to do in the IBJJF what they're doing now in EBI and in these no-gi tournaments. I just can't see that. And
Are we talking about one particular person?
no, not one particular person, not one particular team. I'm just using them as the example. It could be anybody. But let's just be honest here. If
you want to talk about Ryan and Nog's match?
If you open up those leg locks, if they open up those leg locks into the gi division, things might change.
As it should. It's 50% of the human body.
Yeah, that's true to a degree, but at the same time, that 50% of the human body, and this is the only part where I agree with not allowing, again, the heel hooks, is because the gi pants with the heel hooks creates a lot of friction, and you just open the door for a lot of injuries. But at the same time, then I look at...
Unless you don't tap correctly.
I just don't see it in the gi division. I just don't see it. I just don't think... I'm just answering the question.
Okay.
I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. You get Gordon Ryan. You allow that, and all of a sudden, Gordon Ryan becomes possibly the best in the world.
100%.
With one rule change.
Mm-hmm.
With one rule change. And you know what? Gary Tonin, all of a sudden, he shoots up the ladder. And that's where, I don't think Gary Tonin I don't think he's one of the best in the world in that way.
But so how does that change ADCC and EBI and even combat jiu-jitsu?
Well, it doesn't.
Let's remove the... Okay, what I meant to preface this by is remove the IBJJF rules, but how does that affect the rest of the competition? If everybody's going to start going that way, do you see a decline in the IBJJF because there is an increase in no-gi?
No.
And okay,
IBJJF has the IBJJF has a large part of the jiu-jitsu community drinking the Jim Jones. It wouldn't matter what they did. There's a large part of the jiu-jitsu community, especially in the Brazilian community. They are not going to leave the IBJJF.
So Hickson's federation you don't think is gonna make it?
I think it's gonna have a certain level of success, but as far as running the IBJJF, I don't care what rules you implement into your organization for whatever reason. Number one, you got to remember this: one of the largest jiu-jitsu affiliations in the world, if not the largest, Gracie Baja, is directly connected to the IBJJF.
Do you want to get into the reasons why?
Well, I mean, Carlinhos Gracie, one of the founders of the IBJJF, and he's the founder or one of the founders. I don't know everything about their lineage, but one of the founders is Gracie Baja.
Correct.
As long as that connection is there, they're not ever going to know what look. As long as Gracie Baja's in the IBJJF, that right there is a large part of the jiu-jitsu community.
It's got to be over 50%.
I don't know what the percentage is, but it's large. It's and they're never going to leave. My point is, no matter what Hickson's organization or ADCC's gi division, or if EBI creates a gi division, if they created a gi division and said, okay, we'll let you do heel hooks and we'll let you do whatever you want to, it's not going to matter. Those people are still going to be IBJJF, and you can see that locally. You see that locally here. I mean, just look, Grappling Industries. Look at how many people complain about this one rule. I said somebody this other day on Facebook. They complain about this reaping rule. They complain about this heel hook rule. They complain about this. They complain about that. Grappling Industries comes into town and says, hey, look, you can do all that. And nobody showed up.
That's a very good point.
Do you see my point? But the same people that didn't show up and the same people complain will be at IBJJF Charlotte, and they was at IBJJF Atlanta. So so in answer to Tom's question, no, I don't think IBJJF will ever loosen up those rules.
Do you have a loyalty to the IBJJF over any other place that one of your students would want to compete at?
No. I have a loyalty, number one, first and foremost, to Leo Vera, Master Leo Vera, Master Joe Hurst, the Checkmate affiliation, and my students. And whatever is best for my students is what I'm going to do, as long as it falls within the boundaries of what Master Leo Vera and Check Back asked of me.
So if I was able to pan the camera over to the decorations wall, we'd see the Naga and we'd see all the other stuff, the multiple awards that you've won. Do you see that affecting the way that people will compete at Naga?
You mean the IBJJF Charlotte coming in here?
Mm-hmm.
I think it already has. Whether people wanted it to affect it or not, Naga this year is only coming to Charlotte once
Instead of twice.
instead of 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So I think I think IBJJF is already. I mean, the IBJJF again, they're the big dogs. There are schools here in the Charlotte area. They will only do IBJJF, and if the IBJJF has a tournament book close to here, meaning Atlanta, they're only going to prepare for that tournament in Atlanta. And so it makes it very difficult for other organizations to get a profit by coming here to Charlotte or anywhere.
Do you feel that they own that because of the safety that they put around their competitors?
The IBJJF?
Yes.
Well, I think that they're more organized. Everything may not run perfect, but when you walk in there, you can see that you're part of something special. When you sign, in fact, it's not even when you get to the arena; it's when you sign up. When you go to IBJJF's website, when you sign up, when you go through the process, especially when you're a purple belt, brown belt, and a black belt, you have to say there's stuff that has to be signed off on. There's legitimate things that have to be in order. You are aware that there's some levels to this shit, and this is serious. And when you bring that type of cultural professionalism, and then you throw it in the pot of the competitive sport, you build something that requires a certain amount of respect. And I think that's what the IBJJF has done, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, they've literally taken a sport, a tournaments, and put certain requirements on it and became the founding governing body of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
They've turned a martial art into a sport.
Yeah.
A safe sport.
Yes.
Where anybody from, whether you're 5 years old or 90 years old, can compete.
Yeah. And you go to their tournaments, their referees are trained.
Yep.
I mean, shit. That right there sets them aside from a lot of places, a lot of tournaments. So, but again, back to this question, I don't think they're gonna change anything. So, and Tom has some pretty good questions on here, man.
Tom's got some very good questions.
What else has he got? Hit us with something else from Tom. Tom Ziegler. By the way, if you're listening, these questions are coming from Tom Ziegler. He's one of the head coaches over at Highest Stand MMA here in Charlotte, North Carolina. One of the top MMA teams here locally. I strongly suggest if you're doing mixed martial arts, if you're going to pick a couple teams, keep Highest at the top of your list, because those guys are just, and they've been around for a while. They've been competitive since I can remember, and they just keep spitting out these great MMA fighters. And so if you're new to the area, or if you're looking to train mixed martial arts, I strongly suggest that you get over there to Highest in MMA. But what else has Tom got? Hit us with something else.
Well, this is the one that you and I kind of got into a discussion about before the show. Is what do you think about the elbows to the body now being legal in amateur MMA in North Carolina? The North Carolina Commission apparently has misinterpreted the original rules on them. Do you know the details behind that?
Well, as far as what I think about the elbows to the body, let's start with that.
Okay.
So the question reads, what do you think about elbows to the body now being legal in MMA in North Carolina? Now, man, this is such a broad subject. I could go on this stuff for hours. It pisses me off. The North Carolina rules are FUBAR. Okay? One of the problems I've always felt like with mixed martial arts in North Carolina is that our fighters go into the pro ranks already in a deficit, already at a substantial. I mean, can I have one of those beers, please? They look so nice and cold. And
Well, that's why I brought them.
just the fact that we're even having to ask this question.
Where's your Batman?
Oh, my Batman koozies over here. The simple fact that we're even having to ask these questions. What do I think about elbows just now being allowed to the body? Number one, I think it's ridiculous that it's just now becoming legal. Rather, it was due to a misinterpretation or whatever.
Please explain.
It's ridiculous. I mean, forget elbows to the body. Kicks to the head are illegal in amateur MMA in North Carolina. So you do so.
As the dumbest rule.
Well, look, just hear me out here. Listen to this shit. This is ridiculous. Who in the hell would think this is a good idea? So you take little Johnny Boo Boo, and you put him in
Breadism.
Little Johnny Boo Boo, and you put him in 5 amateur MMA fights.
Yep.
Which in the state of North Carolina, if you have 5 amateur MMA fights, then you can turn professional.
Professional. Yep.
So little Johnny Boo Boo gets in 5 professional amateur MMA fights, and he fights the absolute best that Kevin Ferrant can get for Fight Lab, the biggest promotion in the state of North Carolina. Fuck that. The biggest promotion in the Carolinas. And he fights those 5 amateur fights right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, in front of 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. Lights, cameras, actions, music, big booty ring girls, all that good stuff. It's going down in Charlotte at Grady Cole Center. Okay? And he goes 5-0.
Fluffy.
And everybody is telling him what a Billy Badass he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turns pro. And then all of a sudden he's getting knocked dead by some guy that was 3-2 as an amateur in Atlanta, in Georgia, who's been doing head kicks since his 3rd fight. Mm-hmm. And he knocks our guy clean into next year. And I've seen that play out more times than I can count.
So you're saying that the North Carolina Commission is setting them up for failure?
It's not that they're setting them up purposely, because North Carolina Commission, most of them don't know their damn head from a damn bag of boxing gloves. Okay?
You just said a key point that I wanted to bring up, and I'm glad you said it. When do we need to make the split between a boxing commission and an MMA commission?
Well, we can't.
Why?
Because everything that is done with our MMA, boxing, is done through our legislature.
Correct.
Most people don't know this. To get one rule changed requires an act of God.
Pretty much.
It is a progress that it is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm not political savvy enough to sit here and put it into words, but I've been a part of and witnessed attempts to get rules changed. It took literally close to 10 years to get the rehydration weigh-in rule waived, which for you people out there that don't know, and I may be wrong, they may not even waive the damn thing, but I'm pretty sure they did, finally. In North Carolina, you would weigh in on Friday, and if you're fighting on Saturday, so you'd weigh in on Friday. The next day at 10 a.m., if you're lucky, you would come back and re-weigh, and you could not have gained 13 pounds from what you weighed the night before. And then you would go fight that night. Okay? And that is if you've ever fought, that process in itself is such a hindrance to your preparation, and you're just trying to get mentally right, and you got all this running around, and not to mention having to keep that weight off, because a lot of guys do cut a lot of weight. And it killed us financially. The UFC would not come here. Bellator would not come back, because no big-time fighters in their right mind wanted to have to do this damn 13-pound rehydration rule. And we argued and fussed and cussed and jumped up and down and stood on our heads and said it wasn't fair and said it wasn't right. And we were the only one in the damn... And what was bad is our rules, most people don't know this, our rules originally in 2007 were taken from the Ohio State Athletic Commission. Well, the Ohio State Athletic Commission, they come down here, or actually our people went up there and watched them, how they did things and what they did, and then took their rules and adopted their rules here and made them legal through legislation and said, here, this is what we're going to do. Well, hell, the next damn week, Ohio dropped the 13-pound rehydration rule. Something to that effect. I may be off by a day or two. But anyways, the point is...
You're pretty much on point.
Yeah, the point is, and then to get that rule changed took an act of God, and they just now dropped it. That's why the UFC came.
That was 40 years of legislation, I believe.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's crazy. So now...
But, do you still think that MMA should be tied? And this gets into a whole point judging discussion that maybe we don't want to go down tonight. Is there need to be a separation?
Well, well, first off, our athletic commission is law enforcement. Mm-hmm. The North Carolina Athletic Commission, Boxing Commission as it is called, which governs MMA, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, any combat sport that takes place in the state of North Carolina, is really the ALE, the alcohol law enforcement. Okay, so I think Nick just left us to go drain the vein, but our commission is alcohol law enforcement. It's cops, it's law enforcement officers, and there's benefits to having law enforcement as your commission. Obviously, it keeps the shenanigans down to a minimum, which I've seen in other places that stuff can get out of control. It also brings a sense of morality and justice to the rules and how they're enforced. But at the same time, things may not always get across the importance, the urgency. I remember having several discussions sometimes, and it was just like, okay, you guys just don't get it. But, I mean, who knows? I mean, to answer Tom's question, going back to the elbows and amateurs, yes, I think that elbows and amateurs is a fantastic idea. It needed to be legal a long time ago. I don't think that elbows to the head should be legal in amateur MMA. But I do feel strongly that North Carolina needs to develop a tier system for their mixed martial artists, something similar to what Georgia has. I don't know that I would want the first tier to involve headgear and shin pads, but if that's what it had to be, that's fine. So you do that for 3 fights, and then after 3 fights, then you graduate to tier 2. And in tier 2, you can do kicks to the head. And then I would like to see tier 3, you'd be able to fight with kicks and knees to the head. And then if you have a certain winning percentage as an amateur, then you are allowed to turn pro. That's what I would like to see. And if I was commissioner of the state of North Carolina, that's what I would be pushing for. Now, granted, that's easy to sit over here on the other side of the table and say, well, this is what I would do and this is what I think. But I'm just basing this off of my opinion and my experiences through mixed martial arts. But I don't even do MMA anymore, so really, I guess my opinion doesn't matter.
It does matter.
He also asked what future local regional MMA matchups we would like to see. Ami and pro and jiu-jitsu and grappling matchups. Love this shit. Who would you like to see fight? Do you know anybody? Do you even know anyone? I don't know many people anymore. I try to stay out of it.
Right now?
Yeah.
No. But no. I couldn't comment on it. But I would like to see EBI come to Charlotte.
Ooh. Well, yeah, this is true. That would be nice.
It would be... I think he really has something. I think it comes back into the safety of still doing a no-gi and not being able to punch somebody with... I don't know. I think I've been bitch smacked before, and it fucking hurts. I don't know what would be worse, is to get hit with a closed palm or grappling somebody and get hit with an open palm. But
so you'd like to see EBI with the palm strikes come here to...
I definitely would.
To Charlotte?
I would do it. I think that's
okay. If
it changes the game. Do you not admit that it changes the game of grappling when you've got to worry about being punched in the face?
Oh, 110%. 110%. Excuse me. 110%. Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely
You'll
right.
find out if your jiu-jitsu really works, right?
Oh yeah, you will find out if your jiu-jitsu.
Do you like EBI? Do you like the whole?
Man, you know what? No, I'm not a big fan of EBI.
Okay.
You know, the only grappling rule set that I am a fan of, other than the rules that I made for Fight Lab, the only grappling rule set that I'm a big fan of is ADCC.
Could you put on an ADCC-like promotion here in the Carolinas?
Now, you know what? I have said time and time again that I have no desire to ever get into MMA or MMA promotion. But I will say this: if I had a backer,
This is an MMA.
if I had a backer of about $50,000 to $100,000, now that's a big gap. I would start a grappling promotion, and I would engulf myself in that, because I do have a vision of a grappling promotion with a grappling rule set that I would need to train the referees to do that pushes the action, and I think that it would blow EBI, Polaris, ADCC, IBJJF. I think it would blow them out of the water.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that before we bring it up, because we're not going to give any secrets out. But I'm going to jump into serious grappling because of
Okay. Yeah. So what does serious grappling say? What?
We would like to know your thoughts about serious grappling.
Okay, so for everybody out there that doesn't know, Serious Grappling is a grappling promotion that is coming to the Carolinas. It's run by Justin Decker, one of my buddies down in South Carolina. His first show is going to be on April, I want to say the 21st. It may be the 28th. And it's going to be in Little River, South Carolina. Do you know where Little River, South Carolina is?
It's near a river that's very small. I'm looking it up. I'm trying to buy some time.
Well, I think it's near Myrtle Beach.
It says. Hold on. Facebook's giving me prop. Mother.
Yeah, it's near Myrtle Beach. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Possible it's near Myrtle Beach. But it's a new grappling promotion. They're using the rule of Polaris. Man, I always mess that up. What do I think about it? Man, I think any jiu-jitsu is beneficial. I think that our area needs more jiu-jitsu. I think that our jiu-jitsu community needs to get behind every single jiu-jitsu promotion that comes to the Carolinas, especially if that promotion makes it affordable for us to compete. It makes it affordable for us to come as spectators. I think that we need to drop the politics. We need to quit just, saying IBJJF is God, NOG is God, Grappling Industries is God, or whatever. I think we need to get behind this, especially promotions like Sirius that is offering an opportunity for super fights. Which is what they're mainly doing.
I was just going to ask you about that.
About the jiu-jitsu community. And this feeds into another question that Chris Sutton asked.
Yep.
About how can we get more, how did he word it?
How can we get more,
recognition for the jiu-jitsu.
How can we increase the public's interest in wrestling and jiu-jitsu on a local level?
Wrestling and jiu-jitsu community. Okay, so, yeah. This is what pisses me off. Sirius comes and offers awesome super fights. Sirius books Nick Lacaria versus Michael Allen. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sirius takes their time and their money to make an awesome poster. Okay? One of Michael Allen's students goes on the Facebook post and starts stirring the pot to get some damn interest going about Nick Lacaria versus Michael Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And then some ass clown black belt comes on and goes, we must be respectful. We must do this. This is not the Bushido way. What the fuck? We're trying to promote the damn...
And sell tickets.
Yeah, we're trying to sell tickets. We're trying to get the public interest outside of the jiu-jitsu community to come and watch your candy ass put on some pajamas and get on the mat and do what you do. But no, you want to do the Bushido way, and you want to do the Jiu-Jitsu way, and you want 15 damn people to show up and expect Justin Decker and Eddie Bravo and whoever else to continue to come to your community and do this. This shit costs money. People have to come through the door. Somebody's got to talk some shit. Somebody's got to promote. Somebody's got to advertise. Somebody's got to push some interest here. And I can't count the number of times I've witnessed and that's ignorance. That's just ignorance. One of my checkmate brethren said something about Urbith Santos. He's like the bad boy of jiu-jitsu. And they said, oh, this guy, he's a clown. He's this, he's that. What the fuck are you talking about? You need him. Mm-hmm. You need the bad guy. You can be the good guy. Be the good guy.
You need the face.
You need the face.
And you need the heel.
Yes. You need the face. You need the heel. And you know what? And what you're saying is great. But don't say it to me in a closed group. Say it out loud. Say it publicly. Say it on Facebook. Say it on Instagram. Build it. Put him out there. I don't care if you like him or not.
So I want to say something to the viewers out there. And as this podcast grows, when I first approached Mike about doing the podcast, he was very tentative because other people had approached him about doing it before. This is the grassroots stuff that is going to get more interest in the local level. Once you build the local level up, then you can start going national. Once you build up the national level, then you can start going worldwide. Yeah. But you can't do, pardon my French, you can't fucking do anything unless you have the support of your local community. Yeah. And that means every school in Charlotte, whether you love Michael or you don't, he's out here trying to do something to promote the sport and to promote the art and to get people to compete and have fun and make this and grow the community, because it's not only going to grow his school, it's going to grow your school. It's going to grow every other school, and it's going to feed off each other. It's a perpetual circle of life, so to speak. And the more people that you draw into watching Flow Grappling, or if you throw something on Facebook, or even Fight Lab, watching it on Facebook, it grows the community and it grows more interest.
It does. I mean, you look at the other day, James, gosh, I want to say Hagaboom. I call him Boomer. He does the Toro Cut. Mm-hmm. And he's got a fantastic card coming up, man.
Beautiful
April the 14th.
Beautiful
and this thing
card.
is stacked. It's stacked.
Can't even remember.
It's a criminal fucking offense if 1,000 people's not there.
How much do you think he spent on this?
I don't know, man, but it costs something.
So
you know what I'm saying?
What was your biggest spend for Fight Lab?
Oh
for your largest fight, what was your biggest spend?
You know what, man? I feel bad. I mean, I don't even know if Kenny would want me to. For a good Fight Lab show, I'm going to go ahead and say this. And again, I have no ties to Fight Lab right now. I do not have any ties to Fight Lab other than Kenny is my friend, and John is my friend, and Kevin is my friend. And I wish those guys the best, and I wish all the fighters the best. But I'm gonna answer that question because I want people out there to understand what the hell goes into one of these shows.
Yes.
People think that Kenny and John go and they say, you know what, we're gonna do a show. Go down there and rent the Grady Cole Center, okay? Open the door, just throw that damn cage up, throw some banners up. Hey, go up there and put DJ Hour right up there. Yabble dabble.
People are gonna show up.
Yeah, yabble dabble, snap crackle pop, and people show up. Okay, what you saw at Grady Cole this past weekend, that is a minimum. That's a $42,000 show.
Mm-hmm. And how long do you think it took them to put that together?
That is, well, I'll tell you exactly how long it took them to put it together. That's 7 years of 2007, 2009. That's 9 years of putting it together. because there's no amount of planning that could have took place between Fight Lab 58 and Fight Lab 57 to make Fight Lab 58 go off like it did. Fight Lab 58 went off like it did because of what happened at Fight Lab 1 and all the way through. I could sit here, we could do an entire podcast, and this may be a good idea to have Kenny and John on the show. And we could spend 2 hours of me and Kenny sitting here telling you of mistakes that were made, that we learned from, that Kenny learned from, that he passed on to John, that John learned from Fight Lab 57, 56, and 55, that Kenny learned from 58 all the way to 1, that I learned from 2 all the way up to, I think it was 53, 54, something like that, okay, of mistakes that cost us money, that cost Kenny tens of thousands of dollars. 1 or 2 mistakes. Sound system mistakes. Cage mistakes. Ring girl mistakes. Crew mistakes. The point is, people, every one of these promotions, I would be scared to death to say or to judge Boomer and what goes on at Toro Cup, because we don't know the details behind the scenes to make that thing go off with such precision and to go off as good as it goes. But again, my point is this. When you have a card like what they've put together on Toro 9, I think it's Toro 9, okay, going off on April the 14th, for them not to have 1,000 people there is a criminal fucking act. A criminal fucking act committed by the jiu-jitsu community. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I show up on April the 14th tailgating. I'll be out front, cold beer, cold cooler, RKO shirt on. Come over and take a beer if you want to, and I'll RK your ass out of nowhere. Okay? Okay? Getting right, cooking the sausages, getting ready to throw down. Okay? Hopefully you'll be there with me, Slick Nick. We're going to walk that aisle that day. Hopefully, 998 other fans show up that day to watch one of the greatest grappling cards I've ever seen put together. Okay? But I got a funny feeling that ain't going to happen. Wow. April 21st or April 28th, Serious Grappling, Little River, South Carolina. I don't even remember the last time that South Carolina had a serious, you see how I did there? Yeah. A serious grappling promotion come in there and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Okay? And he doesn't have, the experience, that Toro has, or the money and experience that Fight Lab has. But if 300 people don't show up, that's a crime. How can you, answer me this, how could you have a grappling card of 15 matches, okay, that's 30 competitors? Let's assume that you grouped several grapplers from a couple different schools. So let's say out of those 30 grapplers, 18 different academies are represented.
Okay.
Okay? Are you telling me that in 18 different academies, 18 different locations, 18 different fan sects, that each one of those academies don't have, what is 18 into 1,000? What is that? What is that? 80 something?
Yeah.
Don't have no, it ain't even 80. It's like 60, You tell me 18 academies don't have 60 people? 60 friends, 60 family members? How could that happen? And again, I'm putting the cart before the horse. I hope 1,000 people should, but 1,000 people should be there. 1,000 people should be there. It'll be a crying check. Serious Grappling, it's their first grappling tournament. If they don't have 300 people, I'm gonna be pissed. But you know what? Part of the reason is this shit. What's his next question? What's Serious Grappling's next question?
Oh boy.
What was it he asked?
How important is the BJJ show that can be consistent in the Southeast?
We've already hit that. We've already hit that to a degree.
Also, why are black belts so picky when coming to competing? Have a great day, man.
Oh, man. Why are black belts so picky when coming to compete? Have a great day, man. That's awesome, Justin. Well, first off, let's just be honest. This goes for me. This goes for anybody. No one wants to get their ass kicked. Nobody wants to get their ass kicked. And a lot of people aren't honest with their students.
Okay.
I tell my students all the time, you guys are better than me, you just don't know it. Is that not true?
You do say that.
And I also tell them, I am by no means a badass. I'm just not. But there's a lot of instructors out there, a lot of people who their students, whether they tell them or they don't tell them, but their students think that they are Billy Willy badass. And so when you're asking these guys to compete, and they're going to have to go put it on the line, and let's be honest, some of them have never competed in any damn thing. You know, you ain't just barking up the wrong damn tree, man. I mean, you're walking into the goat ranch and asking them when the hell they're going to produce milk. I mean, shit, they're terrible. They've never competed in anything, and you want to know why they won't compete at serious grappling. I mean, they've never wrestled. They've never wrestled a match in their life. They've never grappled in a competitive grappling tournament, and I'm talking about from white belt to black belt, some of them. And then you're asking why they won't compete against John Piper, who is a absolute monster. John Piper's a monster.
Pipe doctor.
The pipe doctor. You know, you're asking them to compete against. Now, look, on another side though, you take me for example. I competed last year at Charlotte IBJJF, and I competed at the Toro Cup twice. And I said to myself a long time ago that if I couldn't train, I was not going to compete. And I said this long before I ever got into damn jiu-jitsu. I said this when I was a little kid. If I couldn't train, this just came from wrestling. If I couldn't put my body through hell, I wasn't going to walk into a competition of any kind. And when I got into later stages of my purple belt, I stopped competing because I took on a coaching role. And when you're training people all the time, when you're teaching classes all the time, you're not getting the reps in for you to compete. You're getting in the reps to show and to make your students better.
Is that a conscious decision for you to not focus on yourself as an instructor and focus more on your students, or is there a point in time where you say that I have to focus on myself and potentially let one of my upper belts teach my students while I prepare for this match?
If you have a certain number, if you have adequate upper belts to do that, if you have adequate, in my situation, that would be impossible. Because I have adequate upper belts, Kenny and Nicole. But Kenny and Nicole, if they're competing, they can't be teaching while I'm training to compete. They have to train to compete.
Right.
If you're another black belt instructor that I know around here, and you are an active competitor, then the teaching is situated around your competition preparation.
Which doesn't mean the best classes.
Well, no, not necessarily, because he also has multitude of black belts also at his school. But then again, like you said, if you're an active competitor and you know, I've seen some black belts, you know, everybody just has to learn through attrition. You're in there to make their roles better. You're in there to make their roles hard. And if you're a white belt, you get in there and you do the damn thing, and hopefully you catch on. And if you don't, then the hell with you.
Do you think there's a point in your career or in your life of teaching that you're going to say, it's no longer about me and it's about my students, and I don't give a fuck what other people think about me competing, because my competing days...
Well, I've already said that. Yeah, I said that when I was a purple belt. But again, I was coaching and teaching, and it was all MMA, and there was no time for me. Absolutely zero, zilch, no time, absolutely for me.
Explain to people why, please.
Actually, I take that back. There was time for me, but it was time for me to learn to make my jiu-jitsu better on the fly as I was trying to coach the MMA. You know, I was driving down the road to learn, and then driving back up the road to teach what I learned and to coach and to adjust and blend what I learned with what I knew before and my experiences as a fighter and as a wrestler and as a competitor. But there was no time for me to train to compete. There was no time for me in that sense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Then when I got to the point, where I got my black belt and I was pretty proficient at teaching, and my knowledge had surpassed where I felt it should be, dealing with high-level guys in MMA and trying to get competitive grapplers going, still no time. Took on more classes, and it's just not there. And in order for me, my opinion, and I have a certain idea of what it takes to prepare to get ready to compete. And in no form, fashion, or shape, in the last couple competitions that I've had, have I even gotten close to that. And I said I would never do that. The only reason I competed these last couple times was because I had so many new people, and I wanted them to see, hey man, you can put yourself out there. And then at the same time, I sort of listened to some of these ass clowns. I mean, because there are some serious ass. I remember people used to ask me, man, why don't you compete? Why don't you compete? And I'd sit there and think to myself, you fat lard of shit, I was competing when you was sitting at home painting your wife's toenails. I was in college getting my damn head beat in. I was in high school getting my head beat in. I was white belt competing against brown belts and black belts. What the fuck are you talking about? I was doing this before you even thought about doing jiu-jitsu. But I would listen to them, and I let them get to me. And I actually did those 2 Toro Cups, which was a just terrible idea. To do a Toro Cup, especially against a guy like Daniel Charles Frank, who competes all the time, and his hats off to him. He's just a phenomenal competitor. To do that on 2 days' notice, that was just absolutely retarded. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my life.
It takes balls to do that, though.
But you know what? Balls, that's my word. Who gives a damn about that? Balls, that was just...
Redism.
That was stupid. That was dumb. And that's why, but that's why some black belts won't compete, because they actually have things... They're teaching, they're coaching. They don't have time for themselves. They don't have time to prepare. But then some black belts won't compete because...
They're afraid they're going to lose?
They're afraid they're going to lose in front of their students who they've told they are the world's greatest Berimbolo king, and it's easy to Berimbolo against white belts. It's easy to Berimbolo in a room that's not very competitive, and so that's the reason they won't compete. And then some black belts, they only compete IBJJF. I know some guys like that. And then there's some black belts that they'll only do no-gi. And then there's some, like, the one thing I've always found hilarious are black belts that won't compete in a no-gi match against a brown belt or a purple belt, and their reason is, well, I only want to compete against a black belt. But if they was in Naga and they was in the advanced division,
it wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter. They could be competing against a purple belt or a brown belt. But I don't know. I mean, to each his own. Who am I to judge? I mean, I'm just trying to answer Justin's question. And Justin's in a situation where he's trying to matchmake for this phenomenal, serious grappling that's getting ready to go down next month down in Little River, South Carolina. And he's trying to do the right thing, and I feel his pain, man. He's like, man, I'm putting on this event. I'm giving a venue for everybody to come out and express their jiu-jitsu and show us what jiu-jitsu is and get it out in the community. And he's asking people to compete, and nobody's wanting to compete. And I understand. I understand. I mean, it's frustrating.
So Nicole brought up a good point I don't know if it was last podcast or the podcast before, is about smoker matches. What do you feel about...
Is she talking about MMA or jiu-jitsu? She was talking about jiu-jitsu.
I think she was talking about jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Yeah.
Bringing back the smokers for the inter-city rivalries.
It would be... we really should anyway. It would give some validation to this Creonche shit.
Yep.
Because it's funny to hear people call people Creonches, and I'm like, dude, this is not 1993 Baja Beach.
Right.
But if we were doing smoker matches and like challenge matches,
mm-hmm.
that would be pretty cool. I actually thought about, I talked to Boomer about possibly bringing Toro Cup here, but I don't. He didn't say no, but at the same time, excuse me, I'm sorry. he did say that like my space may not be big enough, which I can understand that. But hell, maybe we try a bread cup.
I'm buying that domain tomorrow.
You're gonna buy the bread cup.
Breadcup.com.
The bread cup 2018. Because
I'll get a fucking award made for that.
how cool would it be? How cool would it be if we had Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy versus what is that in Concord? Is it Elevate?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Elevate, out where Stafford Hamilton and Sean Burton is, or Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy versus Hubao Kariaka. And 2 white belt matches, 3 blue belt matches, 4 purple belt matches, 2 brown belt matches, and 1 black belt super fight. Yeah. How cool would that be?
You've just laid the groundwork
for
growing the sport in Charlotte.
But the problem is, you know what? I'm one of those guys. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to pour my heart into it, and I want it to be the best. I find it so hard to believe that we could get people here in Charlotte to get together. I mean, look.
We'll never know unless we try.
Well, we've sort of tried, because this is what kills me. If the IBJJF comes to Charlotte, they came to Charlotte 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Explain to me how is it possible that on the same day the IBJJF comes to Charlotte, that some ass clown books a seminar here in Charlotte? How does that work? Look, who's that fucking stupid? Why would you do that? I'll tell you why you do. You don't want to be exposed. You don't want your students to go to a tournament, get their ass kicked, and then look at you and go, I thought you were showing us some good stuff. I thought you were showing us I thought we were doing the right thing. Like, who would do that? Why would you do that? Well, if grappling industries if you always complain about reaping, and you always complain about the heel hooks, and you always complain about this, and you don't want to go to IBJJF because of that, and then grappling industry shows up, and not a single person from your school shows up, how does that happen? How does it happen?
A failure to communicate.
Failure to communicate. Bull butter. Bull butter. I call bull butter.
A failure for everyone to come together and to.
It's sad, man.
Sport.
It's sad. Hey, you want to talk about some support? Right now, the pipe doctor, John Piper, sent me check that shit out, dude. We're on TV at Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy. The pipe doctor's playing us. They're out there rolling, laughing their asses off.
Shout out to you guys.
Shout out to Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy and John Piper, the pipe doctor himself, one of my best friends, dude. I would.
Can you post that on social media?
I would climb heaven and hell for that dude, man. He's awesome. Some people don't like him. I don't give a shit.
You guys are 2 peas in a pod.
We are 2 peas in a pod. I mean, well, no, actually, we're not 2 peas. You know what? He's a shitty tag team partner, though. He is, man. He's a shitty tag team partner. Like, if I always want to be a pro wrestler.
Tag team jiu-jitsu matches.
Fuck that. I'm not being his tag team partner, dude. He abandoned me at IBJJF. I was out there getting my ass kicked. Kung Ting Lao jumping all up and down on me. And this motherfucker ain't doing nothing. I literally looked over to tag Piper, and he's on the other mat, like, laughing. There's a picture of it.
That's something you would do.
There's a picture of it. Like, I was trying to tag him. Brian Edwards didn't even show up. Like, we're supposed to be the 6-man tag team champions. They're like Nikita and Crusher, and I'm like Uncle Ivan. I'm like, I'm the little short, fat one. Yeah, I'm Uncle Ivan. I'm Uncle Ivan. My nephew, Nikita Piper Krotov.
Who's Captain Albano?
Nephew Piper, he will crush you. The Russian crucifix, he will crush you.
The crucifix.
The Russian crucifix. I love that guy, though, man. But how cool would that be? Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy versus Gracie Baja.
I'd go watch it.
Great grappling versus Tops Martial Arts.
Oh, fuck.
Dun, 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 dun. That would be great.
Master Arel. Make it happen.
No, obviously we couldn't do Master Rail versus Jay.
we will even
we couldn't do that.
We'll even live podcast from these events.
Yes.
that we can make this happen.
We need to do, guys. We got to do something. I mean, look, man. We can't keep having. It just, I don't know, man. Yeah,
we have to stop the infighting. Number one,
jiu-jitsu in Charlotte could be so much better.
Yes,
it could be so much better if everybody would just let me fucking run the show, dude. Just let me get you out there. Let me do this shit. Let me do the bread cup.
We're doing the bread cup.
Share the podcast.
We're doing the fucking bread cup.
We're gonna do the bread cup. We're gonna share the podcast. We're gonna make America great again.
Speaking about making America great again.
Oh, here we go.
What do you think about
Chris Sutton?
Daddy Donald Trump receiving hate for smashing this fine-ass snow bunnies years ago? You knew it was coming.
Big Daddy D, Donald Trump. You know what? Yeah, okay, first off, people, let's be honest with each other here. Every president of the United States that I can remember has done something that I'm sure people would consider immoral. I'm sure that people would look and say, well, he shouldn't do that, and blah, 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 blah. But let's stick to the subject here. And this question is from Chris Sutton. And if you guys don't know Chris is a real mofo, all right? Chris is one of those guys, he calls it like he sees it, and he says what's on his mind, and he doesn't pull punches, and that's why I mess with Chris Sutton.
That's your president.
That's our president, Big Daddy D. Donald. I don't know if you guys can. You sure they can hear that?
I can hear that.
Okay, so Chris Sutton said, "Why is Trump receiving so much hate for smashing fine-ass snow bunnies years ago?" Now, I know everybody thought that Nick was saying that himself, and that's why I wanted to reread the question. So, before we got the hate mail, before somebody said, "Oh, your co-host is such a jerk," and he shouldn't say things like that. But no, Slick Nick didn't say that. Chris Sutton's question is, why is Trump receiving so much hate for smashing fine-ass snow bunnies years ago? Now, you correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, the candidates for the Trump Daddy Big D special, okay, for him giving them the D. is a porn star, a reality TV star, and a Playboy bunny. Correct?
God, you're making me just. I need to be more prepared.
I want to make sure that I don't step out of bounds here and say the wrong thing. I want to make sure that I'm correct. Stormy Daniels, the porn star, a reality TV star, and a Playboy model.
Magic in the air.
Oh my goodness.
Do?
Okay, so am I right? It's the Playboy bunny,
Playboy bunny,
the reality TV star.
Yep.
And the porn star.
Yep.
So I'm gonna redirect this question to you. We've had our fun with it. We got to answer the question. Why do you think Trump is receiving so much hate for smashing the reality TV star, the porn star, and the Playboy bunny years ago? Why? Your opinion. Why is he receiving the hate?
Why does it fucking matter?
Okay, but you gotta answer the question, Nick. Why? Let me ask you this. Are you hating on Donald Trump, our president,
not
for
at all.
smashing the porn star, the reality TV star,
Did he
and
grab,
the Playboy
did he
bunny?
grab him like a bowling ball?
Well, he grabbed. What did he say? What did,
Grab him by the cooch.
he grabbed him by the cooch. I mean, seriously, are you? I mean, because I know you're an anti-Trump guy. You don't like.
I'm not an anti-Trump guy.
Yeah, you are. You're a hater. You don't like the president. Be honest. You don't like him. So just you.
After the motherfucker comment, I'm on board.
Okay,
I'm on board
but
the
just
train.
tell me, are you hating on him for this?
No.
Okay. Do you know people that are hating on him for this?
Honestly, no.
Well, wait a minute. Okay. Our third here, right there. There she is.
Our cloaked guest.
Yeah, Nikolai
Volkov.
Nikolai Volhunt. She hates on Big Daddy. She hates on Big Daddy. Okay, and, she's not here to defend herself. That's her problem. But she hates on Big Daddy Donald D. for giving him
The D.
Okay. Why do you think Nicole hates on Big Daddy D for doing that? Why does she find that so just
feminist?
Do you think that's what it is?
I mean,
No, that's not a feminist.
Well, she already said that she doesn't have problems with like the term boobies and stuff like that, but it is context.
But she does hate on Big Daddy D. Well, I mean,
I think she just does it to antagonize you.
you know who I could see hating on him for this?
Tell me.
Oprah Winfrey.
Has she ever said anything about Donald Trump?
No, but I could just see her. I could see her or some of those girls on The View. I could see them hating on him for that. Actually, you want to know what I saw? Actually, never mind. Scratch that. I'm reaching across the football field here. I shouldn't have said that. I'll take that back, everybody. Forget Oprah Winfrey and the ladies on The View. Let's talk about, and this sort of goes into what we were talking about, the real reason Chris Sutton and everybody's out there listening, the reason that any red-blooded American male would hate on Big Daddy D, President Donald Trump,
because they want to get
for smashing a porn star, a reality TV star, and a supermodel. The only reason a grown-ass man would come out publicly and say some shit like that is because they suffer from what is known as bitch assiness. And it's an epidemic, and this is part of it.
We're trying to stomp it out, people.
We're trying to stomp it out, and the only way we can stomp it out is through acceptance and recognizing the problem.
I think we need to come up with 12 steps of bitch assiness.
I agree.
.com.
I agree. Put that on the list.
That's a Brettism.
The
bitch assiness.
Man, it just kills me. What kind of okay? All the shit that Donald Trump does, and he does some dumb stuff. Like he has to go. He will go down, and I honestly believe he's going to do some good. I think he is.
You did give up on him in the last podcast.
Yeah, he. Oh, man. What did he do? He does so much stupid shit. I mean,
He just it's never endless. But you know what the beautiful thing about him is?
What?
You don't have to guess what he's thinking.
I know it. I love that. That's why I like him. I like that.
I think that's why he's honestly good for American politics.
I like it. And that's why, and you know what kills me? Everybody before him complained and moaned and groaned about how we have these dirty politicians who they say one thing, they do another. How did Hillary Clinton say it? You got to have a public stance and then what'd she say?
Don't get me started on Hillary.
But what did she say? And I'm paraphrasing here, but did she say something like that?
Yeah,
you gotta have a public stance, and then you gotta have a behind the scenes firm stance that you tell your cabinet and that you really your firm agenda. And that's what we've dealt with for as long as I can remember. And I thought that everybody was in agreement with me that is a shitty way to conduct yourself in a political office, and that's a shitty way to do political business for this country, to do exactly what she said. And every one of our presidents, as long as I can remember, since that son of a bitch Jimmy Carter took over my Scooby-Doo time when I came home from kindergarten, that bastard, that's what they do.
You are permanently scarred from that.
Yes, it scarred me. It's why I have anger issues. He interrupted Scooby-Doo. But that is not what I'm talking about right now, people. I'm talking about Big Daddy D, Donald Trump, okay? He comes out and he says what's on his mind, and all of a sudden everybody's pissed. Oh, he shouldn't say that. Oh, he shouldn't do that. He's a real mofo. He smashes snow bunnies.
Snow bunnies. more pipe than the pipe doctor.
I didn't say that.
I did.
Pipe is in the crucifix, as in choking pipes, like pipes,
I mean,
air
I'm going to
pipes.
get choked out, but I mean, it's just the truth.
I mean, that's what the pipe doctor does. He chokes air pipes.
I understand
Yes, that's what you meant.
that. Of course.
Of course, thank you. But anyways, back to so it's my point is this: the reason that he's receiving this hate, Chris, is because our society is a bunch of haters, and they hate for any reason.
The pussification of America.
It's sad, man. I mean, it's really. I think it's awful. I think it's awful. Why do you care where his? What kind of grown ass man cares about where another grown ass man's penis was? Think about that for a minute.
It's a loaded
How
question.
can you go on CNN with a straight face and talk about where Donald Trump's penis was? That should be the last thing on your mind.
I don't give a fuck where his penis was.
I mean, even though, I don't agree with the whole FBI investigation on the collusion. I think we're wasting time on that. But talk about that. Talk about that. Talk about.
It's a distraction from the real problems, Michael.
Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about Donald Trump's penis for?
Who cares about snow bunnies?
Why do you care?
Let's build the fucking wall.
Why do you care? Why would anybody care? It makes no damn sense.
Fake news.
It ain't even fake news because Donald Trump's a real mofo. He hit that shit, dog. Oh, Nick, man, this has been a fun podcast, dude. We're gonna. I think we should do this format next week.
I definitely enjoy the format.
I mean, I enjoyed you. I enjoyed your company.
Well, thank
I
you,
enjoyed
sir.
our third
ghost?
over here, Nikolai Hunt.
Volhunt. Oh!
What?
I do have one more question for you. Written in by Miss Regina Palumbo. She asks...
Regina Allen, not Palumbo.
I'm just going by her stage name.
Regina Palumbo Allen.
Regina Palumbo Allen. Why does Nicole want to leave us and move to humid Florida?
Well,
Why?
should we leave that for Nicole if she ever comes back to our podcast? Or should we answer that for her? I mean, technically,
I don't have the answer.
I mean, she's not here, so. In fact, how do we even know she's even going to come back here?
That's a very good question.
I mean, she didn't call, she didn't text.
Carrier pigeon.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on, whoa.
Flaming arrow.
Okay, yeah, she
Telegraph.
didn't. She did not text. She didn't send a. Did she send you an email?
Mm-mm.
Facebook message?
No.
Anything saying she wasn't showing up?
No.
So I guess we really don't have a choice but to answer the question for her.
Why does she want to
What
leave?
is she? She could have already moved to Florida.
She could be in
By
Florida
this
right
question,
now.
she could be in Florida right now.
Well, you would know that.
No, I wouldn't know that. I thought she was coming here tonight.
You'd be missing a son.
No, Eddie wouldn't quit. Surely to God. No, I don't think he's that stupid. Surely to God, he's not that dumb. He wouldn't quit school and just run off to Florida without telling anybody. He at least would send he would do something even dumber, like send me a message and say, "Dad, I'm quitting. I'm going to Florida." He wouldn't just leave. So, for all we know, she's in Florida right now.
Is he still on spring break?
No, he is not on spring break.
Is spring break already done?
Yes.
Really?
In fact, you know what? Nicole may be at Piper's.
Pipe Doctor, if you are able to jump on YouTube and chat with us, or better yet, call into Professor Allen's phone and we will put you live on the air.
Yeah, she may be over at the Pipe Doctor, or she's probably down at she may be at Jason Beber's training jiu-jitsu.
Babbers.
Yeah, she could be at Jason Beber's right now. No, hold on, Jason Sculthorpe is online, and he trains at Beber's. So I just feel bad answering this question for Nicole. Hand me another beer, please. I feel bad answering this question for Nicole and not really knowing. You know what I mean?
You were the seer.
Nope. John Piper said nope. She's not there.
Not there.
She's not. She's not at the pipe doctor.
Thank you, Pipe Doctor. And you guys are still watching live. That's
Hey,
awesome.
They're still they're still watching live, man.
Rolling and laughing at us.
That is so awesome.
That's what we're here for. We appreciate it. We
Oh,
really do.
Hold on. So Jason Skullthorpe just sent me a message, and he is with Jason Beber right now. Let's see here. And I'm asking him, is
Diane Stiegel goes, is she okay?
Dude, we didn't even think of that. What if something's wrong with her?
Search party.
Okay, hold on. Hold on, wait a minute. Nope. Jason Skullthorpe said she's not with them. There's only one last place to check.
Wonder, text him.
No, I guarantee you she's not at Wonder Breads. Nope, she's not at Wonder Breads. She's not at Wonder Breads. There's only...
Tops?
No, she's not at Tops.
Where else should we be?
Well, I mean, she may be at Tops. You never know. You know what? Hold on. I got one more place I want to check before I answer why she wants to leave us and go to. What did she say? Humid Florida?
Humid Florida.
Did she say humid Florida?
So Diane Siegel says, is she still at work? Because it is tax season. And
that's a very good point. And Diane Stiegel makes some good damn points.
I'm just gonna zoom in on our empty chair right
ask
there.
Ask Diane why she's not training right now. That's what she should be doing.
Well, you ask her.
Diane, why are you not training? You should be at the pipe doctors right now getting in your jujitsu.
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu. Pajama wrestling.
Pajamas.
So, I reached out to her striking coach, Kyle Harrell. But he's not online either, which is really weird. He's usually online. Of course, he may be training Nicole Hunt. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and continue. We're going to assume she's okay. All right?
Okay.
Not that we've done anything to research that she is, which I totally blame on you because I was researching other stuff. I was researching all conspiracy theories that she was at Piper's, at Beber's.
Completely my fault.
Yes, so it's your fault because you didn't research to see if she's okay. So Nicole wants to leave.
And I don't usually train no-gi, Diane says.
Oh, is tonight no-gi at Piper's?
I'm guessing.
The pipe doctor does no-gi. Piper's, Kenny there? He better be. If he's not, we got a problem. All right, so the answer that I see, why does Nicole want to leave us to go down to hot, humid Florida? Destin, Florida, to be exact, I think.
Why Destin? This is the first I'm hearing about this.
I don't know. I'm just telling you what I mean. I'm speaking.
It's been a week.
Look, Regina.
What can happen in a week?
Regina asked the question, okay? So the reason she wants to leave us and go to Florida...
Regina, what do you know that we don't?
...is because, she's cooler than us. 2, she doesn't want to be Michael Allen black belt. And 3, she wants to work on her bikini line. Are those legitimate reasons?
All but one of them.
Which one?
Michael Allen black belt.
Oh. Well, I mean, she got this. Well, yeah. Well, I guess. Anyways, so that's the answer to that question. And, Matt and Nick, I feel like that concludes our podcast for tonight. I think we ended up... Man, we had such a good... Man, I wish you hadn't asked that last question. It was so depressing. I mean, because, she's not here, and then she wants to leave us, and it's just... it's a depressing moment. It's a sad way to end such a great podcast.
That microphone right there needs to be grabbed by the cooch.
Grab it by the cooch.
I will grab it by the cooch before we leave.
Hey, everybody, thank you. We're going to do this again next week. We need to have a special guest next Wednesday.
We will figure out who.
Everybody at John Piper's right now, look at him and tell him, say, Pipe Doctor, we want to hear you on the podcast next Wednesday over here at Bread's Kitchen. Somebody else can run the practice. Pipe Doctor, come on over.
Get your ass over here, sir. And we will see you guys next week. Hasta.
Us.